Hey everybody. Today I wanted to go over and talk to you a little bit about mapping the golf course. One of the things you hear me talk about in sessions is preparing and planning like a professional or a high level elite junior, because that's something that we all can do. You also hear me talk a lot about, what can we control? We cannot necessarily always control where the ball goes. We can hit the ball, make the best swing we can, but sometimes, it is going to go off in different directions, and we have to learn to deal with that. And also, you're going to get some bad breaks or even good breaks where it hits something and it bounces in your favor or against you. You can't control that. You just have to work with whatever you have. So, one of the things we can do is actually plan the golf course out and make sure we're ready for really anything that happens. So, you're going to need two things. It's not very expensive to do this, but the first one's going to be one of those notebooks that you can get at the grocery stores, at the office supply stores, wherever you go, that are just those little pocket flip books. The other thing you're going to need is actually it's free. It's called Google Earth Pro. You've probably heard of it, but it's a free application that you download from Google, and it's very safe to use, so you don't have to worry about that part. And it's really a very helpful thing that we can do. So when you open it up, it's going to be at a screen that looks like this. And what you do is just type in the golf course you're going to play. So there's an event coming up in a couple weeks at TPC Deer Run, which is in the Quad Cities. So we're going to head there and test it out. So and also, hopefully, it's going. I know on the screen when we share it, it's sometimes a little slow. So I'll try to explain everything as best you can, as I can. But if you have questions, please let me know. So when you come to the golf course, it'll take you right to the middle. Now, one thing you do need to know is if you've never played the golf course, you do have to know where to go. So you can go to their course website. They'll usually have pictures or some way to show you what the course looks like. They also have yardages that you can look at too if you need that. Now, if you've played it, you can just head over to the first hole and get yourself positioned. So I like to get a look at the hole from behind it. So the first hole is this hole right here. It's a par 4 that's doglegging left. So it's got the bunkers right here on the right side. There's 4 bunkers on the right. So it's right in the middle of the screen in case you're having a hard time seeing the pointer. But what you can do is, first off, you want to take your book. You can draw it in there, okay, what this hole looks like. You can just draw a really general shape. It's not art here for sure, but you get a general shape of the hole. And you also want to make sure you throw in some hazards like the bunkers. If those are there, those need to be on the drawing. If, these trees like this on the left of the hole, they can be there, just generally, hey, trees left. You can make a note there. All right. You just want to start picking out what you can see. Now, I have seen where people will like take screenshots and they'll cut these pictures up and draw on them. You can do that by all means. That's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, that's a lot of time, if you ask me, and you don't need to do that. All right. So we come on down in a little closer. We're actually going to grab this ruler tool, which is up on the top bar. And it's just going to, if you highlight it, it'll say show ruler. And that's going to pop up this box for you. And if you can't see the box, it's down here on the right. And so it's going to show you some different things, like a line. You can draw a circle. You can draw different shapes. And it's going to measure for us. Now, the ones we use are typically the line and the circle. And you want to make sure it's in yards. It sometimes will come in as centimeters or meters. So make sure it's in yards. That's what we're going to play in. So what we can do now is get a good vantage point, and we can start measuring out the hole. So what I like to do is click the back or the front of a tee box, because you never know where the tees are going to be. So you just do the back or the front, and you could always walk off what you needed if there was a difference in the tees. But we can measure out to our trouble. So we got 284 from that tee box out to the bunker on the right. We would want to mark that. We just put a line right up on the front of the bunker, 284. And you'll know what that means. If this bunker was more reachable, which I don't believe it's going to be, or if it was something we were thinking about carrying, we could measure all the way to the end and say, all right, to carry it, it's 305. Not something we're not looking at right now. Now, the other thing is we can take the circle tool. If we put a dot right in the middle, and work out, you can actually get the width of the fairway. So it's 24 yards in radius. So that's about 48 yards diameter. So you can see, hey, that's a pretty wide fairway. You can also then take your line tool, draw it into the green. Hey, that leaves me 120 yards to the front of the green. Now, why do we do the front? Most of the pin sheets you get in tournaments, they go to the front of the green, and then you just add on the number of whatever they tell you. They'll tell you how far the flag is on the green, and you can do that. Sometimes they'll tell you, hey, it's +3 from the center, -4 from the center. You can look at that, but this is just making you prepared for what's going on. Now, the other thing I like to do with the line tool is from the front of the green, I like to know how far it is to cover some of the hazards. So, like, let's say this bunker on the left of the green, there was a pin in the back left corner. Well, I need to know how far it is to carry that little edge of the bunker. Well, it's 19.75 yards, so 20 yards. So I know, let's say they say, okay, the pin back there is, 28 steps on. Okay. So I know it's this far, it's 120. We said we'll give it approximate 120 to the front of the green. So it's 148 to that flag. Well, I know I need to hit it at least 140 to get to the green and not end up in this bunker. Okay. So very, very useful tool. Again, you can do, and you can really start to get an idea of anything. I don't think in this stage that you can have too much information. The more information you have about what's going on, I think you're going to be better off prepared. On the technical side of the game, like learning about your golf swing and everything, there definitely can be too much information. But planning and preparing for a golf course, get as much as you can. So you can just click, hey, I also like to know how far the green is in depth. It's 38 total yards. It's very helpful to know, because sometimes you're going to look at it and there's visual or optical illusions that get played, and you want to know, hey, this is what this is. Again, it takes some of the doubt out of your mind about what's going on. So that's what I do. I'd also pick out some of the areas, like, hey, if I hit it over here and I'm blocked out by a tree, what's the punch out 110 there to that bunker to not go in it, stuff like that you can do. So we'll go through one more hole here because I want to point one more thing out as you go. This is the second hole here. So tee box is back in here. Now you do have to move around sometimes. Make sure you have a vantage point of the tee box as you go. All right. So again, we could take this one right away. We notice it's a dog leg to the right, and there's a bunker here. We could say, all right, it's 297 or 300 to carry that bunker from back there. Okay, so that seems, that's a long carry. But one thing we can look at is if we put the pointer and hover it on the very bottom right of the screen, and it's going to be hard to read, I know, but when you do this for yourself, you'll be able to see, it's going to show you the elevation. So we can see it's 676 feet up at the top. We get down to the bottom, it's 595 feet. So it's about an 80-foot, give it or take a couple of feet drop. So now all of a sudden we start to factor in, hey, that's something we might be able to do now, is carry that bunker because of that. So, general rule of thumb for elevation, 15 feet or so is going to give you, about 5 yards or half a club. It really depends. It's not an exact science. It depends on who's hitting the shot, how high, how low you hit it, things like that. But you can get yourself a general idea. So we would know, hey, I can carry that bunker. We'd also know, all right, is in this space here, approximately 40 yards wide. Again, pretty wide. Now I'm looking to go up to the green and I see some trouble. So let's say I want to lay up. This is a par 5. So I wanted to lay up short of the bunker. That's going to, it's 133 to that bunker. If I do that, that leaves me a 100-yard shot to the front. Okay. That's a good spot to be because we're not taking on this water. We're not going to get up into this area up here because the water's there. So we can start to do that. We could also look and say, hey, if I got to go for the green, let's say you really wanted to try it and go at the green. Well, I've got to at least get it 215 yards to cover this water on the left. You can do things like that. So really becomes a good tool. I'd also look to see if what it is to get over this bunker. Really becomes a good tool to look at the golf course. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you that I really like, and just going through the golf courses I've done, And having played this golf course, close to 30 to 40 times, I can tell you I really like this feature. If you go and zoom all the way in, you're going to get to ground level view. And I can tell you that this looks pretty close to what this golf course looks like. So what I like to do is actually make my way around the course and just, you can see this whole slopes generally to the left. So, everything's going that way. You can see that there's a tree right there on the left that you got to worry about. You can see the bunker. You can start making your way up. You can act like you're hitting shots. You can start to visualize what you want to do with the golf course, which I think is a very, very important part of planning. The more you can start seeing yourself being successful, the better. Plot your way around and start seeing, hey, this is a good thing. This is where I want to go. Put yourself in some bad spots too. Hey, I hit the ball over to this side. Now I've got a chip. What's that look like? Okay, that's not too bad. We do see water on the other side, so you can be a little bit more prepared for that. All right. Now you can move on to the next hole. I do recommend doing this. So it does take some time to get through all of this. You do have to, and you can make your way around the course. We just walked across the street to get to the third hole. So, I mean, you could actually, play a virtual round of golf as you go. So we're on the third hole now, and this is a par 3 up the hill. You can see it's a very blind shot. This is one of those holes that has a huge flag stick. It's double the size because they need you to be able to see it. So it's like as you go through. And then again, you would exit. You can get back to your view, and you can start to see, hey, this is the hole. Again, from either the front or back of the tee, how far is it to carry some trouble? Because that's going to help us understand what we're hitting into. So to get to the green edge, covering the bunker from this tee, 152, you can see. And then it is uphill. So pay attention, up elevation 665 going from 631. So it's a good club or two to get all the way up there. Just something to take note. So that's how I'd go about it. So let me summarize what we would do. We'd make our way all the way through. It takes a little time, so you don't have to do it all in a night. But I definitely recommend you doing a couple of holes, a couple of weeks in advance leading up, spending a little bit of time seeing the golf course before you go. So here's what I would look at, just listing it all. Again, we want the distance from the back or front of a tee box to any trouble and the distance to carry the trouble, if that looks like an option to you. You want to know how wide the fairways are. This is, again, something that helps boost your confidence. Sometimes courses don't look that wide, but they really are when you get up there. So it helps calm you down, make you feel more relaxed. You want to know the distance to cover hazards such as water or bunkers going into the greens. You saw us do that. It's nice to know the putting green depth, how big the green is in general, just from back to front. Again, it helps you just understand some of the angles and give you more confidence about what you're looking at. And then you want to start looking at, hey, this is where I want to play to. I don't want to go over here. This actually starts to get blocked out by trees. Again, they do a really good job of including those hazards and trees, so it has a pretty realistic look when you're looking at the green and looking at the hole to know where to go. So you want to know, hey, I should stay on this side of the hole. It makes life a lot easier. What happens if I get on this side? What am I going to do? Start planning things out so you're not guessing. You actually have an idea and you're very knowledgeable. So you want to plan for the good. You want to plan for the bad as well. So that's how I'd go about it. It's a really, really effective way to feel comfortable on a golf course. This is something that we used to do back in my day before this application was around. We would literally walk the course and get all of this information. During a practice round, if we were playing, we'd just take extra time and walk all this stuff off. Or if we actually had, the course in some of the events, they give you the course for the day. We just go walk without our clubs and just take pen and a pad out. And this is what we do. I can tell you, this is when you have this information, you do play better. It really makes you more confident in what you're doing, makes life a lot easier, and you just don't feel like you're guessing. You're more assured of what you're doing. So something that we're going to expect our juniors to be doing, and I'm happy to help you with it. I want to help. This is a fun thing for me, I think, to do is plan and game plan the course, and then we go out and see if we can execute the plan. But that's where we're going to take it. Okay, so let me know again if you have any questions about it, and I'd be happy to help you. Okay, so thanks